The film opens with a beautiful woman named Lucia. She has been married to a man named Jork for a long time. Initially their relationship was fine, but now Jork seems to be different. Even when Lucia wants to be intimate, Jork often rejects her and chooses to sleep. Until one morning when Lucia wants to leave, she sees Jork being intimate with his friend named Sandra, even though Lucia also knows the woman. She doesn't believe that could happen. Lucia is very disappointed with Jork's behavior. Lucia wants Jork to leave the house, but it turns out that the house belongs to Jork and is in Jork's name. So like it or not, Lucia has to leave there leaving Jork. Until finally they divorce after that incident. Lucia then lives alone in a simple apartment. Her life changes drastically. Who used to be rich, now has to struggle alone with a mediocre economy. Lucia's friend named Maria often comes there. She always comforts Lucia and says this is better than having to live with someone who has betrayed her. Almost everyone in the apartment is young, and Lucia also gets to know a young man named Javier. Since she was alone, Lucia had to struggle to find money, until one morning she saw a vacancy for a presenter in a newspaper. The job was very suitable for Lucia. She had to try to apply for the job, especially since it was a big company and would raise her name faster. And if she was successful, it was proof that she could do it without Jork's help. In the end, Lucia was helped by her friends to apply for the job. Long story short, Lucia managed to pass, and she also got an email from her prospective boss to come to an event with other employees. However, the company required Lucia to come with a husband or child. The problem is that Lucia doesn't have either. And in the end, she met Javier and asked for his help. Lucia's plan was to make Javier her son. He was still young and suitable to be Lucia's son. At first Javier rejected Lucia's plan. He didn't want to go out with the aunts. But after being persuaded several times, Javier finally agreed to Lucia's request. While there, Javier behaved very well. He really convinced that he was Lucia's son. No one suspected their lies. They were all asked to stay for a few days. There were also several games held. Lucia and Javier managed to win the game. Their closeness grew. But Lucia was annoyed by Javier several times, because he kept approaching his boss's son. This should be normal. And did Lucia feel jealous of Javier? That night they all gathered and drank. Lucia drank too much and ended up drunk. And when she was about to sleep, Javier helped Lucia change her clothes. There they almost made out, but luckily they were still able to control themselves. Long story short, the company event was over. They all had to go home. Lucia thanked Javier for helping her. Javier was also happy to be able to help her, and it turned out to be very fun to be able to hang out with someone older than her. They didn't meet for a few days, and one night, Lucia was invited to dinner by the company, and she returned to meet Javier to join him. There Javier occasionally teased Lucia, and Lucia just smiled shyly at Javier. A few moments later, apparently Jork was also there. He said that he missed Lucia and hoped they could get back together like before. But Lucia couldn't answer now, and she needed time to forget her heartache. That night Lucia wanted to admit that Javier was not her biological child, but suddenly that night Lucia got a promotion. Lucia and Javier finally went home, and Lucia invited Javier to her apartment. And there they made out for the first time. Not only that night, in the morning Lucia and Javier were together all day, and filled their time making out all day long. And the next day, Lucia came to the office to take up her new position. She became a director. While waiting for the shooting to take place, Lucia entered the room and acted as a news anchor. Even occasionally she acted silly there. She did not realize that behind the mirror there was a cameraman watching her. A few moments later, Lucia was called to her boss's room, and it turned out that there she saw a photo of Javier with his real parents. So her boss already knew that Javier was not Lucia's biological child. The company felt lied to, and finally Lucia had to be fired. When she got home, Lucia met Jork again. She apologized for what she did. Jork also asked that they could go back to how they were before. Lucia was confused about what decision to make. On the other hand, Lucia had fallen in love with Javier, but she also realized that they could not be together. Their ages were far apart, and Javier should have found a partner who was younger than her. In the end, Lucia lived with Jork again. but she still kept thinking about Javier. On the other hand, Javier, who was feeling confused, wrote about Lucia and would give it to Lucia. In short, Lucia read the writing, and she was touched to the point of crying. When Lucia and York ate with their friends, she made a big decision. There Lucia said that she could not be with York anymore. She no longer loves him and her heartache has not been cured. Lucia decided to get back together with Javier regardless of the big age difference. On the other hand, the company where Lucia used to work still did not get a replacement for Lucia. When the top brass met, a woman came and showed a recording when Lucia acted like a presenter. Maybe Lucia will be recruited again by the company to fill the position she used to have. That was the plot of our film this time. I hope you like it and see you again in our next film plot.